Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised. Everyone makes mistakes, but some people are dumb enough to make them on camera. A foolhardy snake charmer kisses his cobra, and it's love at first bite. A forgetful groundskeeper neglects to turn off the timer, causing his own rain delay. When this bumbling dad decides to deep fry the family turkey, his whole house is gobbled up by flames. A shark fisherman doesn't bother to hook himself to his boat. Now he's the one being reeled in. Plus, this drunk driver claims to have 20 years of education.
I graduated 10th grade twice.
But he can't outsmart this officer. If it's off the wall and it's on tape, then it's all here. It's totally outrageous behavior.
On Thanksgiving Day, Ronald Walker wants to try something new. Deep frying the family turkey.
They're delicious. Have you ever eaten one? They're delicious.
But Ronald's wife thinks it's a bad idea.
I probably would eat it, but I don't want him to cook it.
Undaunted, Ronald fires up the burner. But this genius decides to ignore the instructions and sets up the deep fryer on his wooden porch.
I don't think you read the directions.
And now he's cooking more than the turkey. The whole house is in flames. Thankfully, the fire department arrives and gets everyone out safely. Ronald would be in the doghouse if it hadn't burned up.
I felt like a fool.
Today, there's a new house on the property, but the charred remains of the fryer serve as a reminder of the Turkey Day debacle. So Ronald won't be trying this stunt again, right? Wrong. But this year, he's invited a special guest, Fire Captain Anthony Crowder.
Have you ever eaten any of this? It's delicious, but...
And thankfully this time, everything goes according to plan. But he'll never forget the day he stupidly nagged his wife into trying something new.
You don't never want to try nothing different. So he tried it, it was different.
This snake charmer foolishly thinks that because he just fed a mouse to his snake for lunch, he won't be hungry for more. But 30 minutes later, his snake is so ravenous that he tries to take a bite out of his handler. Thankfully, the fangs only catch the fabric of the man's trousers, leaving his manhood intact. Eventually, when the reptile lets go, this animal lover decides to get tough. He wants the snake to know he's a man, not a mouse. This fellow has just delivered a court summons.
You'd find this person and just issue him the paper.
But what if this person is a crazy lady with a baseball bat?
Well, I kind of sort of feared it for my life and jumped in a car.
She gets in a few good whacks before heading back inside. Now everything is fine, except for one thing. That's not his car. Seems the process server hid in the first available vehicle.
So I wouldn't get beat on with a baseball bat.
With the coast clear, he hustles over to his truck. And here comes trouble. And she's ready for another turn at bat. But the coward gives up and heads for home.
I was lucky.
The same can't be said for this guy. He learned the hard way not to leave his car unlocked. As for the woman, her baseball career is over. But when it comes to stupidity, she's in a league of her own. At a beginner's self-defense class, the master demonstrates a perfectly placed kick to the chest. Almost. Apparently, this dim-witted warrior forgot the solar plexus is above the waist. And he gave his student a low blow. The elegance and grace of the martial arts have often been compared to the ballet. And it looks like this guy just performed the Nutcracker. Successful entrepreneur Daryl McKee makes his living taking tourists up in his hot air balloon. But it's the going down that causes Daryl problems. As a matter of fact, Daryl is the king of crash landing.
When we meet our passengers in the morning, they ask if there's been any dangerous flights or anything. And I usually respond, well, I do have a few, but you don't want to hear them now.
Here, Daryl is seen making an unexpected passenger drop-off in the middle of Sydney Harbour.
There were 9 people who were up to their knees in water with the basket tipping over and, in our view, in danger of perhaps drowning.
But since no one did drown, Daryl gets a move on because he's got plenty more crash landings scheduled for today. Daryl says, why sit down on a nice, safe street when you can dodge high-voltage power lines and land in someone's backyard? Or in a playground packed with school children? Or in a remote lagoon? But after hundreds of successful crash landings, Daryl says his safety record is second to none.
12 years and around 1,200 hours of flying, I haven't as much as put a scratch on anybody yet.
Yet being the operative word. Daryl promises everyone a thrilling ride. Too bad he doesn't see much repeat business.
Coming up, these pea-brained paragliders miss the mark and get put out to pasture. And after an absent-minded groundskeeper forgets to shut off the sprinklers, this ballpark becomes mud-filled. Plus, a small-time TV newsman does a report on fireworks safety. Now his career is red hot. And later, in this performance of Swan Lake, the Swans finally fight back. When totally outrageous behavior continues.
A late-night robbery is in progress at this convenience store. But when the cops arrive, they find all the doors and windows locked. So where's the crook? Here's a telltale clue. A foot sticking through the bottom of a narrow ventilation duct.
When I heard that, it was, I was just wondering who would be dumb enough to do it.
Evidently, this man, who's still stuck after trying to squeeze his 42-inch waist into this 24-inch shaft. Firemen work to free the trespasser as the amused policemen look on. But the man won't budge. Hours later, the sleazeball is finally freed.
He was greased up like a hog.
But it's out of the frying pan and into the fire. Unable to slip away, the half-baked burglar is questioned by police, even though he's already been grilled.
Here's the pitch.
It's the bottom of the 6th at Mile High Stadium, and the Colorado Zephyrs are losing 3-1 to the visiting Omaha Royals. And this batter is hoping for an end to his dry spell. Suddenly, his prayers are answered as the sprinklers turn on, soaking the players and bringing the game to a halt. Luckily, groundskeeper Steve Whiteman has the keys to the timer in his pocket. Unluckily, this is his day off, and he's nowhere to be found. How did this happen?
I had neglected to cancel out the 9 p.m. start time on the controller. So 9 o'clock at night rolled around and the number 1 valve came on.
Finally, after a 30-minute delay, Steve comes to the rescue. And the rejuvenated Zephyrs bounce back to beat the Royals. So, was Steve's forgetfulness really a mistake? Or was it all part of the Zephyrs' game plan?
I'm sure they were probably looking for anything that would have given them an edge. And the ground crew came through that night.
And for that, this forgetful groundskeeper deserves to be showered with praise.
Stand right over there.
A drunk driver named Davey has just been pulled over by a police officer on the outskirts of town.
You been drinking? Well, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, you're right.
Wondering if Davey is as dumb as he looks, the cop asks him some tough questions.
You know, what's your level of education?
I got 20 years of education. I graduated 10th grade twice.
You graduated 10th grade twice.
Yeah.
And so you got 20 years of education.
Yeah.
Well, do you know your ABCs?
Sort of.
Sort of?
Let's see what he remembers from the 10th grade.
H-I-J-K-L-M-O-P.
Apparently, he never learned the letter N. Finally, the officer's ready to haul this hillbilly down to the station.
All right.
But first, Davy needs to make a pit stop.
Hey, I'm gonna go there and like drain the vein.
Hold on a second, right here.
Well, it'd be better than doing it in your car.
Well,
Since he couldn't get through the alphabet, Davy is destined for a night in the drunk tank.
LMOP.
Too bad for him. This officer knows the letter of the law. When the breeze dies down, these paragliders should know to pack it in. But this woman wants to make the most of her day in the country. With no wind to lift her, she steered off course and right into a herd of grazing cows. Her chute gets caught on a bull's horn. Now, instead of soaring through the skies, she's being dragged along the ground. She's okay, but thanks to this foolish decision, the parachuter was branded with the mark of stupid behavior. While conducting a routine traffic stop in Albert Park, Australia, police come across a driver whose car has overheated. As the cops try to extinguish the engine fire, the motorist lends a helping hand.
Stand up in the car.
When police finally open the hood, they are shocked by what they find inside. A pup tent, a fire extinguisher, a propane canister, and a bottle of motor oil. So this genius put the camping gear in the trunk and the propane canister under the hood.
It's disgraceful how anybody could store rubber materials and flammable materials and gas bottles in the engine bay. It's just beyond belief.
It seems this driver from down under doesn't have a lot of stairs. Newsman Marty Holtman is trying to film a television report about fireworks safety. But after loading up on some explosive props, Marty ignores every rule in the book as he sits next to live fireworks to tape his promo.
More about the fireworks business tomorrow night as we salute a safe and sane 4th in Part 2.
Marty thinks this take was okay, but nothing spectacular. And since he really wants to impress his boss back in the newsroom, he decides to film the scene again. Only this time with much more gunpowder. Lights the fuse. This is going to be a good one.
Jeez.
Marty, now retired, would change a few things if he had to do it again.
He'd safety first. I would be back, about 10 or 15 feet away, and I'd probably be wearing goggles.
Marty must have gotten a promotion after this for doing such a bang-up job.
Jeez. Up next, this cocky muscle man is so busy showing off for the judges, he slips to last place. Plus, this guy's a total sportsman. 1 minute he's deep-sea fishing. Now he's deep-sea diving. And later, a bumbling bungee jumper gets some good-natured ribbing when he forgets to measure the cord. When totally outrageous behavior continues.
Why is this car dented? Because it crashed through the wall of this restaurant. The driver felt it was the least he could do for the grand opening.
I saw a big explosion of the window in the Stir Fry Express.
Alert pizza clerk Jennifer Moody saw it all from next door.
What I thought he did was went to stop, when you park, but accidentally hit the gas. And because I saw him go over the curb, and I was thinking, oh, he better stop before he hits the window.
Jennifer fled the scene, leaving the pizza place unattended.
I don't know exactly how many pizzas they burned away.
But the pizzas didn't get burned as badly as the owner of the Stir Fry Express. Because the dumb driver who brought down this great wall was his dear old dad. During a shark fishing trip off Cape Cod, this ship of fools takes stupid behavior to new depths. As they fill the water with bait, amateur angler Jimmy DeAmbra straps on his fishing pole. And it's not long before he's hooked a big one.
Oh, something's hit. Take off. Hold on. There we go.
Whoa,
Oh! Ain't no God.
size of that shark. That's a big right there.
But the shark isn't happy to be caught.
He is one pissed off son of...
Jimmy, hold on, baby.
So the shark's on the hook's on the rod's strapped to Jimmy. And Jimmy's not attached to anything. So the shark drags him straight down. Eventually, Jimmy struggles back to the surface, but collides with the bait and gets covered in fish blood.
Watch the bait.
Or, as the sharks like to call it, gravy. Now, 2 more sharks join in. And Jimmy's caught in the middle of a feeding frenzy. The fishermen pull their pal back onto the boat and are happy to see he's okay.
That shark almost had Italian food for dinner.
When this reckless angler decided not to strap himself in, he almost wound up sleeping with the fishes. A company near Pittsburgh has hired 2 demolition experts to bring down an old smokestack. They set the charges carefully so the tower will fall away from the building, which is a landmark. Make that was a landmark. The factory owner ropes off the damage, although he'd probably prefer to string up the moronic demolition team instead. Because this botched blow-up turned out to be their downfall. These snowmobilers are running the last leg of their race over an unfrozen section of the lake. When it comes to their stupid behavior, that's only skimming the surface. Before the race is over, this show-off decides to take a victory lap, going in the opposite direction.
What happened?
The run-over racer staggers to safety, but the wrong-way driver is nowhere to be seen.
Where's the other guy?
Eventually, he resurfaces to a frosty reception from the crowd. It'll be a cold day in hell before they let him race again. It's a peaceful Sunday afternoon in the park. But suddenly, 2 careless boaters come between a mama bird and her chicks. Big mistake. Mrs. Swan attacks, and these lame brains take an unscheduled dip in the swamp. These boys better watch out, because Mrs. Swan has quite a temper. The chicks are safe, but the next time these guys go canoeing, they'd better be more careful, or they may find themselves up a creek without a paddle. John Goss's Arkansas convenience store is frequented by some of the dumbest criminals ever caught on tape.
It's just almost entertainment to watch how people can be so stupid.
And he has a zero-tolerance policy toward shoplifters.
When I'm 100% sure that they stole something, I shoot out from behind the counter, go right where they're at, and I just tell them right then, take the out of your pocket.
This simple-minded smoker thought she'd help herself to a lighter, free of charge. But incredibly, she doesn't even notice the camera right in front of her.
What else? You need a lighter?
Later, John confronts the clueless woman with the videotape.
And I'm thinking about having you arrested for that lighter the other day. I've got you on tape.
Faced with the evidence, the crook coughs up the cash.
I'm sorry, I'll take it already.
This camera next to the beer cooler is even more conspicuous.
That is $1.15, and then the 2 in your pocket are $1.30. You don't want to buy them, you just wanted to take them? Oh, okay.
And what drove the dummy to steal 2 beers?
I said, sir, why are you trying to steal that? Because I didn't want to break a 50.
These dim-witted thieves had better think twice before they mess with John again.
It doesn't make me mad anymore. It just makes me want to choke them.
And his advice to would-be shoplifters?
I want to catch you worse than you want 25 cents worth of crackers.
Winning a bodybuilding competition requires strength, poise, and willpower. But this amateur musclehead figures he can make up for that by slathering on more oil. But sadly, he doesn't sweep the judges off their feet. Whoa. Just himself. This guy was too slick for his own good, and his chances of winning just slipped away.
Coming up next, that's one small step for man and one giant leap for outrageous behavior. When totally outrageous behavior continues.
This bungee jumper plans to leap off a 100-foot bridge.
I had set my rig according to my rough measurement. I drop a 100-foot rope.
Too bad he forgot that bungee cords stretch. Incredibly, he's okay. Even though his day did get off to a rocky start.
Was in the bathtub for about a week, picking rocks out of my leg. Sat on the couch for about a month or two after that. Right back in the air, jumping as soon as possible.
But this adrenaline junkie is still hooked on bungee. You'd think he'd have quit after hitting rock bottom.
Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised. Everyone makes mistakes, but some people are dumb enough to make them on camera. A misguided football fan celebrates by shooting off fireworks into his own team. This wannabe rock star needs a little more support from his fans. A boneheaded boyfriend uses a candlelight dance to ignite the flames of passion. This dim-witted daredevil goes for the glory. But now he's all washed up. And a careless aircraft mechanic forgets to duck and is sucked into the engine of a fighter jet. If it's off the wall and it's on tape, then it's all here. It's totally outrageous behavior.
Texas Jack is a cowboy stuntman. For his big showstopper, Jack likes to fill a metal box with dynamite, stand on top of it, and hit the switch.
It's designed to give the effect of someone getting blown up, obviously.
Obviously. But on one special occasion, Jack decides to fill the box with a little extra gunpowder. Not to worry, this professional stuntman knows what he's doing, right? Wrong.
Oh my God!
The weakened metal gives way, and Jack is thrown 30 feet.
I think he got him that fight.
According to the cowboy, only one thing kept him from going to that big saloon in the sky.
Landed on my head, that's the only thing that saved me. Hard-headed, you know.
And does he have any desire to repeat this performance?
Like my grandpappy said, if you fall off a horse, get right back on. Well, I think my grandpappy was wrong. I don't think I'm going to get back on that horse. No more explosions for me.
Although Jack's stunt work days are over, he doesn't miss them.
I went out with a bang. It's a good time to retire.
And that's good, because when it comes to common sense, it seems Texas Jack doesn't know Jack.
Oh my God!
Here's something you don't see on your average kiddie show. The host taking off his pants on live TV. So how did this happen? It all starts when celebrated TV funny man Willie Whistle meets a special guest.
This is Slim. Slim's a bull snake.
But Slim's harebrained handler is not paying attention, and she allows the 12-foot serpent to slip into Willie's pants. Why the sudden animal attraction?
I assumed it was looking for a cooler, darker place to get into, and I was it.
So what was running through Mr. Whistle's mind?
I was hoping it didn't get into the shorts.
Now this funny man is sweating under his painted smile because Slim the Snake is getting a bit too familiar.
I'm not sure this is decent enough for children.
So off come the pants and out comes Slim. And finally, this trouser snake is under control. A biker is pulled over for drunk driving.
In pursuit of a DUI suspect.
But he's so intoxicated, he doesn't even notice that a piece of hot ash from his cigarette falls onto his gas tank. The alert cop backs away, but the suspect is blissfully unaware that he's in danger. Eventually, he realizes that his moped is in flames.
We'll have fire rescue en route.
But instead of running to safety, he carefully lays down his bike. Wouldn't want to scratch it. Hopefully, this man will quit smoking before the next time he decides to burn rubber. At a footwear fashion show, this curvaceous model is wearing a one-of-a-kind pair of 10-inch platforms. But she's got a fashion secret that makes her one-of-a-kind, too. Watch as she wows the crowd with her ultra-smooth moves. Then she seduces the photographers with her raw sex appeal. But the altitude must be getting to her because as she approaches the edge of the stage, she takes a tumble. Still, nothing can throw this consummate professional. She immediately regains her composure and loses her balance again. Only this time, she also loses that frilly wastebasket she's been wearing on her head. Finally, her secret's out. She's a he. His runway career is over. But one thing's for sure. Whoever replaces him will have some mighty big shoes to fill. After workers put the final touches on the lead float for the Spanish National Day Parade, a ribbon-cutting ceremony is held. And a local pageant winner is invited to christen the impressive sculpture. But the bottle doesn't smash. Looks like she'll have to try it again. She winds up, and here's the pitch. And still it doesn't shatter. Now, third time's the charm. He's really going to put some muscle into it. The bottle doesn't break, but everything else does. It seems the builder spent his lunch break cracking open a few bottles of his own. Now these people have to watch their parade plans float away. During a rowdy rock concert, a radio host decides to try his first stage dive. This airhead expects his fans will catch him. But they don't, and he falls face first onto the concrete floor. Looks like this DJ will be off the air for quite a while. If he didn't have a face for radio before, he sure does now.
Coming up, a pumped-up fan celebrates a touchdown by shooting fireworks right into his favorite team. Plus, a crazy lady doesn't have the cash to take a cab, so she takes a police car instead. And a love-struck boyfriend gets his date a little too hot and bothered. Then later, after a 1-2 punch, this boxer flips his wig when totally outrageous behavior continues.
For this high school's big homecoming game, the team's biggest fan, Joel Fouts, plans to pump up the crowd with some fireworks. So when his purple-clad Broncos finally score, Joel takes his cue and shoots his fireworks into the players.
I've watched people set them off, and I mean, any dummy can do that. Little did I know, I wasn't even as good as a dummy.
By the time the smoke clears, the Broncos coach comes up with a surefire plan to avoid such disasters in the future.
I think definitely we need to keep Joel away from the fireworks.
But even though Joel's idea was a dud, he did find something to brag about.
I've gone to a lot of games, and they always shoot fireworks off, but nobody has ever shot anybody in the butt with fireworks.
So what will become of this Broncos booster?
I probably won't be in the Hall of Fame here.
That's okay, because Joe will always have a spot in the Hall of Shame. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, this dim bulb is pulled over for driving without her lights on. Until now, a law-abiding citizen, this woman is horrified to learn that she's failed a sobriety test. The officer reads the tipsy driver her rights.
You understand what I read to you?
No.
What part didn't you understand?
Can you repeat it all, please?
But here's something she does understand.
And you are under arrest.
The road scholar is handcuffed and put in the back of the patrol car. But when the cop walks over to deal with her rowdy companion,
Hey, stop!
the suspect does the dumbest thing she'll ever do. She climbs in the front seat and steals the police car. So much for her clean criminal record. Always a courteous driver, Miss Manners stops at the red light, looks both ways, then barrels ahead. Moments later, the cops catch up with the renegade, but her joyride is just beginning. The fugitive heads for the freeway with the police in hot pursuit. Finally, the officers manage to block her in. This time, there's no way out. Except this way. After putting the pedal to the metal, she's on the road again. But she doesn't get far. After tangling with a concrete wall, her one-woman crime wave comes to an end.
Calm down, all right? I think you caused enough trouble.
Faced with her first driving offense, this young lady flipped out and, in a matter of minutes, managed to add resisting arrest, grand theft auto, reckless driving, and assault with a deadly weapon to an otherwise spotless record. But that's what happens when you drive under the influence of stupidity. This rookie reporter will get a great new job if he can only perform well in this screen test. A routine story about New Year's Eve.
So much for the new year here in Trafalgar Square, but the scenes.
He tries again, but the drunken mob won't cooperate.
So much for the scenes of celebration here in Trafalgar Square.
If he was a pro, he'd have switched to another location. But does he? No.
So much for the joining of
When push comes to shove, this reporter loses his cool.
So much for the joining.
And by the time he finishes this report, the old year and his career are history. What could be more romantic than a beautiful candle dance? Maybe a moonlight drive to the emergency room. This man holds his candle too close and accidentally catches his date's hair on fire. A concerned friend leaps into action by pointing and laughing. Maybe the smooth operator finally realized that this girl is his perfect match. A lawbreaker with a low IQ has just stolen this 18-wheeler full of electronics. But as he races from the cops, he drives under a low bridge and rips a giant hole in the trailer. Now this trucker's really towing a wide load. Soon, his precious cargo begins to spill out onto the roadway, creating a perfect trail for the cops to follow. The dimwit drives until dawn, but eventually ditches what little remains of his big score. Within minutes, police capture the criminal and invite him to take a ride in their truck. Now the cuffed crook can only hope that the cops are better drivers than he is. At the New Hampshire primary, presidential hopeful Gary Bauer tries to impress voters by entering a pancake flipping contest. His throw looks great, but his catch needs work.
Candidate missing in action. Yes!
Bauer is quickly back on his feet
I'm a fighter, folks.
And puts a positive spin on his downfall.
I caught that pancake. So the extra effort I made just there is what I'll do as President of the United States.
His methods may be clumsy, but at least this candidate proved to voters that he'll bend over backwards for them.
Coming up, a second-rate stuntman tries to fly into the record books, but his career takes a nosedive instead. Plus, a family picks the wrong place for a picnic. And now they're turkeys in the straw. Then later, this aircraft worker always wanted to see the inside of a jet engine. Now his dream has come true. When totally outrageous behavior continues.
Daredevil Tommy Pearson has spent months preparing for a record-breaking jump across the Rio Grande.
No nets, no safety nets, no nothing.
Apparently, no common sense either. Because Tommy knows his beat-up stunt car isn't fast enough to make the jump. But he tries it anyway. He races down the runway and soars. Right into the river. Now he's really up to his neck in trouble. Naturally, Tommy's able to explain his shortcomings.
I just couldn't get it up.
No kidding. But Tommy's not a quitter. And now that his car's all dried out, he's going to try the big stunt again.
I'll be back this summer, so I'm not the laughingstock at the Rio Grande in Texas no more.
So on his second attempt, Tommy wisely chooses a narrower part of the river. And this time, he takes another nosedive. This daredevil wanted to make a big splash. And that's exactly what he did. Police in Texas notice a drunk driver running another car off the road.
Going about 60, he's all over the road.
Then he takes a detour over the sidewalk before coming to a shaky stop. The driver gets out of the car.
Button your pants. Yeah, there's kids out here.
But indecent exposure is the least of his problems.
I smell a little alcohol on your breath, sir.
The suspect answers the accusation with an invitation.
You want to drink a beer? Come to my house. I got plenty of beer. Okay. You too, baby. You too. I got a lot of beer.
Evidently, safety comes first for this man. He's wearing a hard hat.
Anything wrong with your legs? You all right standing up? Or your age may affect that, maybe.
Maybe not. The man in the hard hat proves he's still light on his feet by doing a little soft shoe.
You ain't gonna make it easy.
Now all he has to do is walk a straight line. The officer asks the man for his license and registration.
You got your proof with you?
Yeah, about 80 proof. He goes to his trunk to look for his license.
Watch it.
And gets even further smashed. Maybe his license is in the back seat, under a few dozen empty beer cans. This man tried to bribe his way out of a ticket.
You want to drink a beer? Come to my house. I got plenty of beer.
But he can't tap dance his way out of this one. In this boxing match, the fighter in the red trunks is taking a beating that couldn't possibly get any more humiliating. Until the punches start to dislodge his toupee. Now he's so concerned about his hair that he forgets to protect his jaw. The merciless trouncing continues until finally, a right to the jaw flips his wig and sends him reeling. The fallen warrior has a moment to think about his future. And he decides that after this hair-raising experience, he'll need a stronger adhesive to keep his rug off the floor. These weakened sailors are marooned on their motorboat. But instead of waiting 5 minutes for the shore patrol to pull them in, they flag down a passing helicopter. Amazingly, the chopper pilot agrees to tow them to safety. The pilot knows that pulling the powerboat will be a snap. And he's right. The added weight of the boat sends the helicopter into the sea. And now the boaters are saving the chopper crew. Looks like this pilot was too wet behind the ears to pull off a rescue like this. In a beautiful open field, this foolish family picks the worst possible place to set up their picnic, next to a towering wall of hay bales. Up comes the wind, and down comes the hay. The entire wall of hay. And now they're buried under a giant haystack. These hungry folks are more interested in finding their sandwiches than dear old Mom. She didn't like this picnic in the first place, and for her, this is the last straw.
Coming up next, an absent-minded sailor is swept off his feet by a revved-up jet engine when totally outrageous behavior continues.
Here's former naval officer J.D. Bridges walking through his hometown airport. But it's amazing he'd get anywhere near an airplane, considering what happened to him just a few short years ago. J.D. and his team were working on the deck of the USS Theodore Roosevelt.
I was training a new recruit to take my job, launching the aircraft off the catapult.
But when J.D. approaches the engine, he forgets the first rule of working on an aircraft carrier. Duck. In a flash, J.D. is sucked into the revved-up engine.
It was a mental error on my part. When I got sucked into the intake, it sucked off my helmet, my gloves, my coat, which shot out a fireball out the back. The topside petty officer seen it and told the pilot to shut the plane down, and within a minute, I crawled back out and then I blacked out.
J.D. is incredibly lucky and suffers only minor scrapes and bruises.
My helmet went through the intake, which pretty well, I think, saved my life. Most people that have been sucked into an engine, I think, got turned into chopped liver.
Today, J.D. makes it a point to stay out of aircraft engines. An important life lesson that he intends to pass on to his son, Blade.
Named him Blade for the simple fact his father almost got chopped up by the blades in the intake, and it just kind of fit him.